Yeah, another tough week for us. Two good teams, and um, for us, just trying to keep growing and trying to keep getting better. Um, I think we learned a lot from this past week and having, three games in the first week, having two of them on the road. It was good exposure to our group, to how you have to play on the road to win games, and hopefully we have some transfer of that. But just overall, trying to get better day by day, and it's challenging. The weeks keep being challenging, which was the intention when we put the schedule together. Um, and so this week will test us a lot, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Coach. Royal, we'll start with you.
Good morning, Coach. I know a lot of times you learn a lot about your team throughout wins, but you learn more when your team loses. How do you think your team took that loss at Maryland? And what do you look to kind of gain from them kind of bouncing back this week, progressing and learning from the mistakes and mishaps?
I just think we learned we have to be more disciplined in how we play, and obviously able to show them that, the film, the visual evidence of that, be more assignment correct, more attention to detail within our scheme. And when we do that on each end of the floor, possessions more often than not go in our favor. And when we don't do that, the teams are good that we play against, they capitalize and they score, or they get stops if we're not executing properly. So that's what we looked at, and that's what I'm hopeful that we've learned from it. But it's not just enough for them to say, like, yeah, I learned we have to do this better. Like, they have to do it better, and that's the challenge in this game. Is it's not just they have to see that they could be better in a certain way, they actually have to fix it on the court. And so that's what I'm hoping to see. That's what I'm hoping to see come Thursday, is that we've actually corrected on the court some of the things that we didn't do well.
Thanks, Coach, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
Jim, go ahead.
Oh yeah, hey Carol. You mentioned some discipline issues. That there were some foul trouble problems. Is that one of the things you're referencing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd love to have the ability to play any of your players at a given time, and that certainly was taken away from us there in the first half. So, for sure, would like to stay out of foul trouble.
And what specifically? I mean, if you told me going in the game Duke was going to score 80 points, I would have been reasonably certain Duke was going to win that game. What was Maryland doing so well to put 85 points on the board, and why was Duke not able to counter that?
We just gave up open layups and open threes. That's how they scored.
Okay. Thanks.
Missy, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Missy Heidrich with CBS Sports Network for Sunday at SDSU. This week, I think you got two teams that present some different challenges for you. As you prepare your squad for two games, I know a lot of it is the internal piece of what you're doing, but how are you looking at your opponents, and what are the focuses that you guys are talking about, especially maybe from the defensive end of the ball?
Well, I haven't watched South Dakota State yet, so I can't tell you. I just go one game at a time, and my staff obviously has been watching them. So, but we haven't talked to that with our players yet. They know they're good, and they know we have to go on the road to a place that most Power Fours never go, and so they know that we're taking them into a place that is a challenge to win, no matter what your school is. So they understand that. But we've just been focused on preparing for Dayton. right now, and getting ourselves back on the defensive end, and then offensively cleaning up our execution. I mean, that's really what I wish I'd give you like some super smart answer. I mean, that's just really where we are right now. We're in the second week of the season playing games, and we're trying to get our foundation solid right now. We're trying to offensively and defensively do the stuff that we're supposed to be doing. Before you can do all that other stuff, you got to have a group that does that. And we're not there yet. And that's what we're trying to get back. And then when you look at a matchup, there'll be different players that present different things. And then, will you try to take away certain things from player X or certain things from player Y? Sure. But none of that works if our foundation's not solid. And so that's what we need to continue to hone and continue to work on, and get that part where it needs to be.
You're seeing some time from some of your young players, and obviously you had a group of young kids last year kind of growing up and growing into their roles. But as you look at this freshman class that are giving you a lot of minutes and giving you some opportunity there, what has stood out in these first couple games, and what have you liked from them in practice?
You're talking about Fournier?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Fournier's really good. I mean, you guys watch the games, you see her. Like, she's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's productive. Like, she scores, she rebounds, she gets to the line. All those things she does in the game, she does in practice every day. I thought, there were things she could have done better, but for a freshman on the road in a top 20 matchup in 22 minutes, almost gets a double-double, like, that's pretty good. Like, I'd say, like, okay, that's pretty good. Now, does she have a lot to work on? Sure. Are there things that she needs to be better at? Sure. But she's very competitive. She's very confident. She's very productive. And, just continuing to help build her foundation of, how we play, because that's new to her. She doesn't know how we play. She's learning how we play and learning our schemes and learning our changing things that we change and how we do that. And so that part is going to be, she's growing all the time, but, she's a presence on the court offensively and defensively. And, so I think she's been solid, for a freshman the first few games.
Jim, back to you.
Yeah, Carol, let's circle back to Dayton if we can. I know they're 2-0. They had a close win and a blowout win. What can we expect to see from them? What are the points of emphasis for Duke against Dayton?
Yeah, our points of emphasis really don't change from game to game, regardless of opponent. We want to get back in transition, force people to play against our half court defense. We don't want to give up open layups or open threes. Okay. We want every shot to be challenged. And then we want them to get one challenge shot. And, that's kind of the goal every game. How you do that changes game to game from a scheme standpoint. I ain't giving you that, Jim. You know that. I ain't giving you the scheme against Dayton. But that's the goal. And so, we got to get back in transition. We got to get matched up. We did that poorly against Maryland. We can't give up open layups and open threes. We did that poorly against Maryland. And then we can't give up offensive boards. We did that poorly against Maryland. So you can see we have a lot of work to do. And that's what we're hoping to see, some improvement in those areas versus Dayton. Number one offensive rebounding team in the A-10 last year. Almost 50 points in the paint last year, Dayton. Like the two areas that we didn't do a good job of on Sunday. So this is going to be a big old challenge for us.
Okay, thanks.
Marissa, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, circling back to Toby just for a second. She had 5 fouls in the first game, some of them probably kind of silly, and then she only had 1 in the past 2 games. Was that kind of just showing her the film or just her growing up? Obviously, she's still going to make some of those young mistakes, as you pointed out, but that's a pretty solid improvement in just a week.
Well, listen, I can't really take credit for anything Fournier does well. I'm being honest with you. I'm not sandbagging you. Fournier came in this way. She came in good, like athletic, skilled, all of that. And then anything that's been put in her brain since she got here has been all Tia Jackson. Okay. And that's my assistant coach that works with the forwards. Daily is with Fournier, watching film, instructing on the court, teaching, stopping practice, correcting. And so if it was anything that fixed or a conversation that happened, it would have been between those two, because those two are talking all the time when we're in practice. And if you notice when we start the game, where does Fournier sit? You might not have noticed. Where does Fournier sit when the game starts? Well, that's your homework. You get the sits when the game starts.
Ian, over to you.
Hey, Coach, it's Ian Sachs from Kello TV in South Dakota. I was wondering, you mentioned a few minutes ago about how South Dakota State is a place that not a lot of Power Four teams will look to travel to. Curious how this game came about.
Who's the last Power Four team to play there?
They had Creighton come in this week, and then
That's not powerful.
Wisconsin's coming in on Wednesday.
Wisconsin. How it happened? I just called there. I didn't call, but I just called there. I said, hey, I'd like to play at South Dakota State. And then we called there, and then their coach said, Aaron said yes, and that was that. I just pick all the places that are hard to win, is what I do. I just have a list of all the places that are hard to win and that Power Four people won't go to. Go ahead and look at my history. We played at Florida Gulf Coast. We played at Toledo. We played at Columbia. We play at Richmond. We play at South Dakota State. We're playing at South Florida. We're playing all the places that people are scared to go because they're scared they may lose. I'm scared I may lose too, but I ain't afraid to play it because I think you want to play, like players want to play in good games, man. They don't want to blow people out by 60. Nobody wants to blow anybody out by 60. What's that do for you? Doesn't do anything for you. So we just play. We just played at Maryland. We're playing at South Carolina. We're playing Kansas State neutral. We just play people. And I think you grow from it. And it doesn't feel good in the moment on Sunday when we lose. But I'd rather know what we got. And I'd rather know where our weaknesses are. And so I got the craziest non-conference schedule in the country. I got 5 road games, true road games. I got 2 neutrals. I got, how many home games I got? Only 4? 5? That's crazy. That's crazy. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Man, I've never been to South Dakota. That's another reason I think what a beautiful country we have. And this sport allows you to travel the whole country. And for me, it's allowed me to travel the world. I get to go to places and meet people. And so I'd rather take my players around to different parts. Plus, I've got a really geographically diverse roster, kind of when you look at where everybody's from. So it's good to kind of like play in different areas of the country. So sometimes it's closer to, where someone's from and things like that. So we're intentional about that as well. I can't wait to get up there. I am looking forward to it. I've admired their program for a long time. And I met Aaron a few times at USA Basketball. He was assistant coach in one of the junior teams, and I was on the committee, and so I got a chance to watch him coach during the trials, and he was very good, very, very good. And of course they're like always good, man. They're always in the tournament. They're always winning their league. Like they're just like a really good program. So I think, did they have a new arena or they renovated it or what's going on up there?
They renovated, facelift to the old arena. So brand new bleachers, court, sound system, the whole
Awesome.
works.
That's great. Is our game sold out? You're like, I'm going to start interviewing you. Is our game sold out?
I don't know that off the top
You
of my
don't know
head.
that off the top of your head. And then what's the temperature I can expect when I'm going up there? You got to help me pack here. What do I have to bring now?
It's actually going to be, for South Dakota, going to be pretty nice for this time of the year. It's going to be about 50.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this. It's
Yeah.
Brookings. Brookings.
Me too. There's no snow on the ground yet, so I'm a happy man.
I'm very excited. I really like geography and well, it's not really geography. I just really like maps when I was a kid. And at some point you should travel to all 50 states. And this is one state I haven't got. I think this is state number 42 for me. I'm still 8. I got to get to 8. I think it's 8. I got to go back and count this, but I'm very excited because I'm going to check off, one of the states. It doesn't count if you were in the airport, like you have to have like spend a night to me in the state. So this is checking off one that I haven't, and so hopefully I'll get to all 50, before I'm 6 feet under.
Sounds good, Coach. Looking forward to seeing you in South Dakota on Sunday.
Thank you.
Debbie, over to you.
Thank you, Jalen. Kara, you talked about Tia. Can you arguably have one of the best staffs in the country? I mean, you have your experience, your head coaches that are sitting on the bench. Can you talk a little bit more about their roles and what they each bring to the table?
Yeah, they're all fantastic. And, I thought being a young head coach is important. You have experience around you. And, Coach Tia was my first hire coming here. And she's a wonderful coach. She's excellent at every area. A lot of times some coaches will have like strength, like people strengths and weaknesses. And I haven't found a weakness for Jackson in coaching. She's excellent recruiting. She's excellent tactician, offensively and defensively. She's versatile. She could work with posts. She could work with wings. She could work with point guards. And she has great charisma, and you feel good around her. So she's a wonderful coach, and has been a great confidant for me. She's the one coach that's been with me the whole time. So we have a great deal of trust with one another. And you want to know my favorite part about her? My favorite part about her is that she'll tell me about myself. And in this seat, sometimes people just agree with you, because you're their boss, or, you're in charge. And so nobody wants to disagree with you. And whatever you say is a great idea. And that's how it works. And it's really important that you have somebody that calls you on stuff if it's not right. And that's invaluable. And she's done that from day one. If I'm off on something, she'll tell me. And, quite honestly, about 20 minutes ago, there was a knock on my door, and I opened it, and it was her. And I said to myself inside my head, of course, oh boy, here we go. What's she going to tell me about myself now? So we shut the door. She told me something about myself. I ain't telling you guys what it was. And then she left, and 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to give her 100%. 9 times out of 10, she's right when she does that. Like I have not done something all the way it should be done, or she's given me a different perspective that I hadn't looked at yet. You got to have that. And I'm grateful to have that with her.
That's awesome. If I can ask one more, we're talking about all the experience you have back. But I think when you look at, you've got a lot of fresh, first semester sophomores who are still, and you talk about process a lot, like in the process. And you look at Alucci and Jaden, like offensively right now, they're not their efficient selves that they perhaps were at the end of last season. Like where are they in the process from where they've started to where they are now?
I mean, think about this. Freshmen, when they do something good, you're so excited. You're like, oh my God, that was phenomenal. Just when they do stuff good. And then when they do stuff bad, you're like, hey, she's new. And you give them grace. And then when they become sophomores, you expect that you're going to have consistency. And so you have just more of a critical eye on them. And you should. I'm not saying that's wrong. You should. These two had incredible freshman years for us. I mean, there's no way we're where we get to at the end of the year. In fact, you could track it to their improvement. Our team's improvement, you could directly track to Donovan and Akanawa and how much they improved throughout the course of the year. Thomas as well. Those three, I thought the reason we grew a ton was those three grew a ton. Brown was Brown and Mayer was Mayer and Jackson was Jackson and Richardson was Richardson. Not that they didn't get better as the year went on, but the three kids that like jumped were those three. And now we're saying like, hey, now be good every game. That's hard.
Mhm.
That's hard. And so they're figuring that out. Now be good every game, and you have to do more than you did last year. And so that's what they're navigating and figuring out. They're still far from finished. I mean, you're right. They've played what, 36 college games, 38 college games. I don't know how many we played last year, but so they're far from where they're going to be. And that's just where they are. I have full confidence in both of them. And they're going to, again, be big reasons why we're successful this year, but they got to play better than they are right now. And they know that. And they're trying to. They work hard in practice daily. Like, this isn't like a thing where they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's why they're playing or shooting the ball poorly. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They've just got to finish and be a little bit more focused and a little bit more, disciplined, I think.
Yeah. Well, with that said, it seems like Team Air is being less of what she was last year. Now it's only 3 games, right? But she seems like she's not as demonstrative in her play. Like, she's just letting the game come to her and letting it, her numbers or just her role. Is her role any different this year, or is it still the same?
I look at her role as the same, at least right now. Obviously, she's our starting point guard, and the goal is to get us off to a good start offensively and defensively. I don't know where she is compared to last year in terms of her minutes or her points or her shots or anything like that. I just know that there's another level that we need to get to with our point guard play after these first 3 games. And that's not just Mare, that's the Jesus as well. And, I'm confident in Mare. Like, she's one of my toughest kids. She's a competitor. I'm not worried about whatever the difference. I don't even know the difference right now. That's what shows you I'm not worried about it. I don't start looking at stats till a little bit later, individual stats till a little bit later. I mean, I had 4-game stretches I shot poorly, that's a part of it. So you got to wait a little bit longer to see if that's what it is, or it's just a bad stretch.
Thank you.
Missy, back to you.
Yeah, Coach, can you talk about Reagan Richardson? Just talk to me. Obviously, everyone knows about her game, but what's her leadership style like? Is she a lead by example kid? Is she a vocal leader? Is it a combination of both? What's she like in and out of on the floor, in the locker room as that senior leadership?
Reagan's pretty easy to coach in practice because she just practices hard every day. Like, I've been with her 3 years. She's never had a bad day of practice in terms of her effort, in terms of her attention to detail, in terms of her trying to do what we're asking her to do. Has she had a practice where she played poorly, like turned it over or didn't make shots? Yeah, of course. In 3 years, she's had that. But I mean, like, I've never had to yell at Reagan, like, to try harder. I've never had to like say, hey, you don't know what you're doing, or you're not focused, or you forgot this, or like, it just never happens. You know how hard that is for a young person for 3 years to like always have great effort and great attention to detail. So that part of coaching Reagan is easy. Reagan's definitely lead by example. She's quieter. She's not, somebody that's super emotional when she plays. And, people that have, you watch our team play, like Reagan's not, I mean, Reagan's, scoring 28 points against Ohio State last year. And I think she smiled one time or something like that, like she doesn't do that. She just plays. And maybe gets excited if there's like an and one for somebody or things like that. But she just plays basketball. She has grown though in talking more, but it's not like rah rah and like yelling. Like, it's more of like making sure everybody's on the same page in a huddle or calling a coverage defensively, like the actual talk to, because it has to be done. It has to be communicated at the right time. And she's pretty good at that. And then she'll talk a little bit more, and she's had to encourage more, this year because it's a young team, especially in the front court for us. And so it's a lot of our older perimeter players, Reagan and Ashlyn specifically, having to kind of help the front court players along with what they're supposed to be doing.
You mentioned your point guard play the last 3 games, maybe not being at the standard or what you're looking for. Does some of that come to being more vocal, to making sure that everyone is in the right spot, to get yourself organized, correct some things in game that might not necessarily come from the bench?
Yeah, I think they're working hard on that, working with Mare and working with the Jesus, growing in that space to be able to be organized, not have any disorganized possession. You have a disorganized possession, to me, that's on the point guard, and so trying to have as few disorganized possessions as possible in the game, and they've grown in that. I mean, I don't keep account of the disorganized possessions in the 3 games, but I just know from practice, like from the start of camp until now, they've grown in like getting everybody where they're supposed to be. And so we need them to keep doing that. And then everybody on our team has to defend better, but that starts with our point of attack defense, which is our point guards have to guard better than they have.
Great. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing your team in person on Sunday.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up with the gym.
Yeah, Carol, I want to kind of flip that last question and talk about communication on the defensive end. Last year, Kennedy Brown was an exceptional communicator on defense as far as getting everybody positioned and calling out what the offense was doing. Is that still a void that's waiting to be filled? Is that something that a post player should be doing, or kind of how is that developing?
Yes, that is something we need to improve on. I told y'all all the time about Kennedy the last 2 years, and y'all thought I was crazy. And y'all thought when I said she's the best defensive player that I ever coached, y'all were like, no, that's hyperbole. It's the truth. She's the best defensive player I ever coached. And she did so many things on that end to save us that you wouldn't even know that was happening. And the biggest reason Jaden and Delaney grew last year was because they played alongside her. That's how they got better through the season, was her. And we're just all freshmen and sophomores down there. So we're not at the point yet where we know what we're doing all the way. So it's hard for us to help other people and see the whole picture because we're so focused on trying to do what we're trying to do right. So that's kind of like the space we're in right now. And that's not the wrong space to be. You have freshmen and sophomores. You need them focused on what their job first. They got to do that first before they can worry about other things. So we're just kind of in this space of like, everybody's got to kind of like do their job well right now. And then I'm hopeful as the season goes along, we'll be able to grow and expand to where they can see the game closer to the way she sees the game. But, she was a 5th-year senior. I had her as a 4th-year senior and a 5th-year senior. So we're talking about freshmen and sophomores doing that. Like, we're going to have to grow to that is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying we're going to have to grow to that. They're not going to start doing that immediately. And we've got to teach them to that and grow them to that. And then hopefully we can have more of a organization to our post defense and to our schemes, because your organization has to come from your forwards. Like I was talking about point guards, like point guard's got to organize. And if there's a disorganized possession, it's the point guard's fault on offense. Well, really on defense, it's the forward's fault if there's a disorganized possession. Because think about it. It's just a matter of where you look, right? A point guard, I was looking for my board so I could show y'all, but I don't even know where my board is. Right here. Hold on one second. Okay. Little class today. Not know y'all were getting taught today, and you might already know this. Okay, here we go. When we're on offense, if this is the point guard, their eyes face that way, right? So, do we all agree they see everything? Right? That's why it's their job to organize, because they're the ones that can see. Because a 5-player, they face this way. So they can't see on offense. On defense, it's the opposite. X1, 1, we're X. The point guard faces this way. They see that way. How can they call the scheme? How can they know what's happening? They can't. They can't see it. They just got to try and keep this player in front. So now, see it? This player and this player has to be your leaders defensively. They're the only ones that can see everything. That's what it is. So I forgot your question, but what happened is, as our 4s and 5s that are freshmen and sophomores, as they grow and they start to see everything that's going, they can now communicate, and then we can adjust our scheme as it's unfolding before them. Right now, they're just worried about doing their job, which is the right thing for them to be worried about, and they don't have the ability to see everything yet. And this takes time. This takes repetition. This takes games. And then they'll start to see that better. And so our defense will improve a lot as the year goes on, as they get better at that. But do not mistake me. I am not saying the reason our defense is below where we should be is because of just those players. Our guards have to be better too. That's why I mentioned our point guards have to be better. Our wings have to be better. We all share this, that we are playing below our level defensively right now. So it's not just those guys, but I was just giving you more detailed explanation as to where they're a little bit different than what Kennedy was able to do as a 5th-year senior.